how are you all doing? So today we'll take a slight deroute from our ongoing discussion on Angular and dive into TypeScript. I'm pretty sure everyone will get at least something out of this video. So let's get right into it. TypeScript is a strict syntactical or typed superset of JavaScript. Therefore, whatever we write in JavaScript is actually a valid TypeScript code as well. But in TypeScript, they added a bunch of new features to the language, which makes our life really easy. So first I'll create an empty folder for today's tutorial. Let's give the name as Learn TypeScript. Okay. Now I've opened the folder here. Let's open the command prompt. Code space 1 dot. Okay. So we need to install TypeScript globally. Okay. So to do that, we need Node.js. By going to the nodejs.org website, download the current stable version of Node.js. Okay. Once Node.js is downloaded, you will be able to see the version of the current Node.js installed. So currently it is installed in my system, so I'll not do it again. So Node.js comes with this package manager called Node Package Manager or NPM. So with the help of NPM, you can download the TypeScript and install it globally. So the command is npm install TypeScript -g and execute this command. In case if you're working in a Mac, then you need to add a sudo before this. So this command will work only if you have installed the TypeScript in your system globally. So the TypeScript files will have an extension .ts. Okay, so in case the name of the file is app, so the file extension is .ts. All the JavaScript code which we already know is actually a valid TypeScript code. Imagine you have this function called function do double. Okay, function do double, which will not do much. It will consume a number and it will return the double of it. So number into 2, fairly basic. And then call the do double method with the same variable. Okay, so I hope everyone is aware of this syntax. This is a basic JavaScript syntax. Nothing TypeScriptish is there in this file. So I'm going to execute this file and show you how to execute a TypeScript file. To do that, the command is tsc app.ts. Okay, so what this command basically does is it will convert this TypeScript into its equivalent JavaScript. We'll see in a minute. Let's run this. Let's see what all files. So as you can see here, we have a JavaScript file with the same name called app.js. Let me open the file. So as you can see, there is no difference in this app.js and app.ts. So this way we can see that all the valid JavaScript methods, whatever we were writing in JavaScript, is actually a valid TS. So Node is capable to execute JavaScript. Okay, so like a normal JavaScript file, we'll type node space app. The extension is optional. I have not consoled it, so it will not return anything. So console.log. So in case if you are wondering of why this red mark is coming over here, it is because currently it is executing as a script, and this TypeScript file itself is not a module here. Scripts share the global space. So since it is executing as a script, it is complaining like we have duplicate function definition, but modules has their scope limited to their current file only. So we'll export this guy here, export and this. So that's all. Now let me compile this guy once again and execute the, yeah, fine. So as you can see, we have got 6 in the terminal, and the equivalent JavaScript code looks like this, pretty much the same. So this was fairly simple. Let's create an add function. So you have num_1 and num_2 here, and the return value will be the summation of both. Now let me call that method with both these variables. So I'm expecting the summation of both this as a result. Yeah, we've got 9 here, because from this we cannot tell what kind of argument it is expecting. So since we are passing number, that's why it is showing as number here. But if we change this and make it a string here, now let's see what happens. Yeah, you see what is the result? Instead of adding them both, they got concatenated with each other, because the program, the method thought that since it's the second argument is a string, so it has to concatenate them. So this is the problem with the native JavaScript codes. So since there was no strict typing, so you can the real time you are not sure what type of data this function is expecting. Okay, now let me do some small change here. See, I'll add the type of this argument here called number. The moment I'm changing this type here, you can see I'm getting this argument of type string is not assignable to parameter of type number. So this is what TypeScript brings to the whole JavaScript scene, some kind of intelligence to the language. Okay, this may seem really trivial, but in the real-time scenario, it can give real benefit. So I'll show you one more example like this. So imagine we have a simple for loop here. Okay, a variable I equal to, it starts from 0 and it ends before 5. What I am trying to show you, even though this is outside of the scope of this variable, it is able to print the value in the console. If we compile it, it will very well compile. Let me show you. So as you can see, 5 was the last value. Outside of this scope also, this variable is printing, which is dangerous, because this is not inside this block scope, rather it belongs to this global scope. So since this we have declared this variable with using the var keyword, and var keyword only knows 2 scope. One is function scope, second one is global scope. So there is no concept of block scope here. Okay, so this actually is the reason of many other issues in the real-time development, because it is available in the global space. For this, TypeScript introduced a keyword called let here. So if you are using let, and the moment you are trying to access this variable here, it will complain saying that cannot find I, since in this whole space there is no variable called I, and the scope of I is available only here. So apart from let, there is one more keyword called const. Okay, let me show you the use of it. So imagine I have a variable called val. Okay, simple. I'm assigning this value as a constant, so I don't want this value to change in the program. But in case if you are using this var keyword, then you can very well do this kind of thing with this new const keyword. That will not be required, because you can see here it will complain right away. saying that cannot assign val because it's a constant. Okay, so one thing to remember for constant, that constant, in case of constant, you need to know the value beforehand whenever you are declaring. So this thing will not work with constants. So ahead of time you should know what is the value you are going to assign to a constants, and that's what constant is. Let's discuss various types available in TypeScript. So imagine you have this variable called input. Okay, now this input can have any value. Basically it can have any value. So suppose it has 5. Now you can make it hello. No, the moment you are trying to change the type of this value, it will directly complain. See, type hello is not assignable to type number. So the moment you are assigning this value, it gets to know, see what it is showing, it is a number. So this is called type inference. TypeScript's intelligence automatically understands what is the type of this variable. So going forward, the moment you are trying to change this value, assign a different value, it will complain. But still we can save this and we can compile this code and it will create its okay, see here it is showing this error, but still if you open the JavaScript, you can see that it compiled and created its equivalent JavaScript file. So what we understood from here is, in JavaScript you can easily write this kind of a thing and run into issues in the future, but TypeScript helped us to curve them. The first type is number. Okay, so under number, almost all the kinds of numbers, floating points, everything. So there is no float over here, so you can assign this kind of value 3.14 okay, having decimal value. Also you can assign hexadecimal value also. Here I'll show you. So hex means X and FF means 255. Let me print them. Console log. Let's see what it prints. Yeah, so as you can see, input 1 is 3.14, input 2 is 255. So these two are possible in JavaScript as well, but in TypeScript you can assign octal and binary values as well. I'll show you now. Okay, so let's create this input 3 here and assign a binary value, and create one more variable input 4, but here octal means O, and something fairly basic, export. So let's print input 3 and input 4 here. Yeah, input 3 is 4,100, and this is obviously an octal, it is 7. You got the point. We can assign octals and binary variables as well. So all this comes under the type called number. Okay, so let me show you an example of string. So as you can see, the type of this became string here. So as you can see, the sentence is printing perfectly with the interpolation also. Hello Arnav and welcome to JSCult. So I'm not going to show much. Strings are pretty common. Like string, we have boolean as well. Okay, so imagine you have a variable called maybe is logged in for the logged in users. So the type is boolean. So the moment you are writing boolean, it can be false. Okay, it can be false, so it can be obviously true because boolean, also if you are not assigning any value, then this is boolean, but if you try to print this, it will show undefined. Okay, one more thing, you can assign here this null value as well. Arrays are a common way to represent a collection of homogeneous data. So same thing is available in TypeScript as well. Let me show you this example. Same input ARR maybe. Okay, so there are mostly two ways to declare an array. This is one way where you have, imagine whatever is the type of the data you want to store in your array. So if you have all numbers, then we can have it like this: 10, 20, 30, 40. You got the point. We have a collection of numbers here. Or there is one more way to declare an array: _1, _2. So instead of this, you can directly write number with a open and close square braces. So like this also you can declare an array, and both should work fine. Input 2. Let's see. This way you can declare and use arrays. Okay, there is one more way to declare an array, but that is not recommended at all. I'm just showing you what is possible here. So you can use one more thing called any. Okay, so any is pretty much like I'm telling TypeScript to stop checking. Okay, so using any type, I can use the same square braces, and then here you can write anything like true, a string, okay, a number, anything, and the application will work. It will not. Input 3. It will not complain. See, but this is not at all recommended because you don't know what is the type of the data it is accepting. Okay, and it may cause a lot of issues. To implement heterogeneous collection, we have one more type in TypeScript called tuples. Let me show you. tup_1. So tuples are there to store heterogeneous data which is available beforehand and which is having a fixed length. Okay, let me show you how it looks. So imagine you have an array which has a boolean and a string. So you can define it like this and assign like false and some name. Okay, Tushar maybe. Fine. So this way you are restricting the type of this tuple to boolean and string. The moment someone comes and tries to change this guy to maybe hello, then you can see it will not work because hello is not assignable to boolean. But you can always do this. You can always do this to change because true is a boolean. Okay, same way you can do with the second argument as well. One more thing we can do, we can push other content here. Okay, we can push a string or like this thing should work here. Let's see. Yeah, as you can see, so we can push further data externally to the tuple, but remember we can only push data which belongs to this type. So the moment we are trying to push something like this which does not belong to boolean or string, then it will not work, it will show an error. I hope it is clear now. There are few constants like colors in rainbow or days of week like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. These are constants, but they don't belong to this integer or string or all these things. So we can implement it like this, of course, like mon. Okay, imagine we need to assign an index to all of them, so you can always do like this, like assigning them explicitly, but this does not look good and this is not easy to maintain. In TypeScript we can create an enum. Let me show you how it is done. So let's create an enum of colors. This is how an enum looks. So now after this you can assign like my favorite color, okay, and you can assign color like this, colors dot blue. Okay, what happens is in an enum by default they hold numeric values that starts from 0. So in this enum red is basically 0. Okay, you can see here colors dot red equal to 0. Same way it will be incremental, green is 1 and blue is 2. So the moment we are trying to print this guy, console.log, it should show the index of, yeah, so as you can see 0 1 2. So you can assign any value. Imagine we have assigned 10 over here. The moment we are saying red is 10, it will increment and change the green to 11 and blue to 12. So it is better to always explicitly mention the values here. So suppose it is 20 and 30. Okay, so the initial default scenario where you have this 0 1 2 values assigned to them, it is not needed to assign them explicitly, but what happens is, so here the value of blue is 2 as we saw. Now suppose we add orange, someone add this color over here like this tomorrow without knowing that you are using this with 2 value, then your entire code will not work, because now the value of blue becomes 3, it is no more 2. So it is always a good practice to assign your variables like this. So I remove orange now and blue with 3, so that in the future, sorry, it should be 2. So what happens is, in the future if someone comes and changes this enum, they know that they have assigned to 1 0 1 2 value, so they can come and change and make it 3. Apart from the numeric values, we can assign string value as well. Let me show you an example. Imagine we have a MIME type enum, yeah, and then you can dynamically assign any value here. The moment you are printing file type, it should work. Let's see. So as you can see, it printed the value whatever we assigned here. So this kind of fancy values also now it is able to store in the enums. Also it is able to store strings, it is able to store other different kind of values. Let's see one more example. So again, same way, if we store this guy dot 3, okay, awesome. Using enum, you can club together multiple enums. You can inherit one enum and use it in another enums. If you want to print these 1, 2, 3 whatever properties are there in an array, what to do? So simply we'll create a for loop here. Okay, for loop, maybe keys in. Okay, before that we need to create an array, of course. So let enum keys should have a string array. Initially it should be blank. Now we need to add one type check here. Okay, so keys are like we are going through one by one. So only if type of keys, type of this guy means these things. So these are currently array. Basically you can write object here. So type of is equal to object. So I think we can store the keys to this array here. So this dot push. I'm not doing any duplicate check here, but in real life example you need to do that. I need to add a let here. So let's try to print this array now and see what we have here. Fine. So in case I don't have the type checking, then it will print all the value in the enum. See, so this is the reason we need to add this type check. Let's see the JavaScript equivalent of it. See, in JavaScript this is how we can implement an enum data. So it's definitely way more clumsy. In TypeScript it gives you a very cleaner way to implement the same. Imagine there is a case where you don't know what kind of data you will store in a variable here. So this is not recommended, but in case if you are migrating from a JavaScript code, so in that case it comes really handy. So any is that data type which way we are telling the compiler to stop doing the type checking. Okay, now same way like variables, this method will fetch an API and will return the response of the API, but we are not sure what kind of response we will receive from the API. It can be undefined, it can be null, or it can be JSON object as well. So in those cases it is possible to mention explicitly the return type as any. Okay, going forward I'll bring back my same add number. We're trying to store the response here, so we don't know what is the return type of it, and we simply with some value, maybe 2 plus 3 we want to do. Now we are trying to store this response. Since there is no return statement here, internally it returns something. What it returns? It returns undefined here. See, here we have undefined and 5 for 2 plus 3 and undefined. So since there is no return type here, it can safely be said that the return type of this method is void. So don't expect anything because it will not return anything, but internally it returns undefined value here. Now there are certain methods which does not even return undefined. We have this function and it returns new error with dummy error response. So what this means is, if you try to store this, it will not even return undefined value, because this function is not even ending. It is like abruptly going out of this method, the control. So in those cases, it should not be void. Rather, there is another type called never. So never means the function will never return anything, and it will never reach the end. See, here we have this error message. So it never returned, it never reached the end, this method. So we have this new type called never. Let input underscore 1. Okay, so the type of this guy is any. Let input underscore 2. It has another type called unknown. I'll tell you what this unknown is. So any and unknown are almost same. There is a slight difference. So going forward, imagine we have a string over here. Okay, string. So you can assign this input easily to this string type. Since the type of this input one is any, so you can easily assign it to any type, variable of any type. It can be string, it can be number, it can be anything, and the compiler, TypeScript compiler, will not complain at all. But in case of unknown, if you try to do that here, then it will complain definitely. Okay, so what we learned from here is, when we are denoting a variable explicitly as unknown, we are saying that we don't know the type of it. So just make sure, before assigning anything, just make sure that you have a similar type. So here we can see this error, but if we assign an if condition like this, so type of input underscore 2 equal to string. So we are explicitly telling that our variable is string. See, now this input 2 is gone, because we are stressing on this. Okay, initially beforehand we don't know the type of it, but as it progresses, we are telling that the type of this input 2 is string. So then it will not complain. But otherwise, by default, if we try to assign any unknown variable to any variable of type other than unknown, then it will show this kind of error. Let me create a fresh new object here. Okay, user. Okay, and then so maybe name blank address, one more object, inside that first line of this, and maybe you have a city, or yeah, could be city, which is an object which has multiple properties, so can be possible. So this kind of thing, if you try to print it in console log, okay, let's add one age as well. Okay, so if we try to print this object, you need to check first whether user is available or not, and user dot. So imagine we try to print this first line here, so address dot, so we need to check address is available, user dot address dot. So if we try to use any different key here. Of course TypeScript will be able to tell that because it knows the structure of it, but so for the example, let's stringify this. JSON.stringify. So to prevent that, you can directly write this one like this with the use of a, sorry, not here, this question mark. What this means is you are checking whether this property is available or not. So only if this address is available, then only you will try to print this first line. So in other case, you can print a generic method like address not available. Okay. So one more operation you can do. So suppose you need to print the age of the user. So I'll try to print the age of the user, and in case age is not available, I'll write that age is not found. Okay. So now if we try to implement this one in the console, let's see what happens. So in this object you already have a key called age here, but still it is going to the OR condition, means this thing is evaluating to falsy value. The reason is pretty clear, since we have this value as 0, but it is common. So 0 age, because it's a newborn baby, so it can have a 0 value, right? It's nothing wrong in it. So or maybe you want to print this name here, but in case the name is not found, so you just want to make some generic statement like user is not found, but same way you will see the result is user not found here. Can you see? User is not found. The reason is same, since it's a blank string, it's evaluating to falsy value. But it's okay, you know, some user might not want to enter their name, or some name is not present. That does not mean that entire user is not present, right? So to cover up this situation, TypeScript 3.7 introduced this thing called null coalescing. Okay, what that means is, instead of this OR, we can write it like this. Now let's see what happens. So now you are at least not getting this user not found here. Since the name is not present, it is printing the blank value. Same way, in case if you try to do this, okay, age, so if we execute this, then we are getting 0 value. That's perfectly fine, right? Age 0 is okay because there is no age, but still user is present. So this way we are basically checking whether the left hand side is null or undefined. In case if it is null, so imagine we have a null value here. Okay, so if we have a null value here, so null means it is not at all present. You can see it is evaluating to user not found. So only in that case it is saying that user not found. Or in the real time scenario where you don't even have a age, so age key is not present, so you can actually use this default message called age is not found. If that key is not there, key is not there means this value is undefined. What this has done is, only if an expression evaluates to undefined or null, only in that case it will go to the it'll evaluate it to false. So imagine there is a variable called mime type. Once again I'll write that. So this mime type can have only 3 value. Okay, so this mime type can either have PNG, or it can have JPG, or it can have a PDF value. So in this scenario we can declare this as a type. Okay, we can tell that this mime type is a type. So this way you can actually define a type, and I'll quickly show you after this how to use it. So this is a type called mime type. Okay, and this has 3 values: PNG, or JPG, or PDF. Now all the variables, like I declared a file MIME type. So this is one variable. If I assign this mime type to this guy, what it means is the moment I try to assign a variable, so it will only take file type. So the moment I am assigning anything like maybe SVG or something, it will show this kind of an error, because SVG is not assignable to mime type. Mime type will only accept these values. So here you can see this intelligence. Here it shows PDF in PNG or JPG. So if you assign one among them, it will work perfectly. So this way you can assign a type of a variable which is user defined, and these are all string literals. So this way you can implement method overloading as well. So I'll show you a very small example here. Okay, so as you can see, this is perfectly fine, this code is working, and now you can write a implementation of it. Let's get into more details in the custom types. So for that, let me create a method called getSalary. So getSalary has 2 arguments. One is emp code, and another is emp underscore name. And so the implementation part I'll not start now. So this has 2 arguments, and it is able to get the salary. Let me name it print salary. So in the salary, obviously you need the employee code and the name of the employee to make it very simple. But there are cases when you need more details, like along with the name you may have some employee designation and other employee category, or other dependencies might be there, like 5 to 10 dependencies. So in such cases, if you have that many dependencies, it looks really clumsy that a method has so many dependencies, because in most of the cases all of them belongs to a same concept. So it's not at all a good practice to call a method with so many arguments. Rather, what we do is we just move them into a single compartment and give them a particular name. Maybe it is EMP. Okay, employee. EMP stands for employee. So employee is holding it's kind of encapsulating all the properties of that employee, which is responsible to print the salary. Now we can call this print salary here, like whatever arguments were there. So just give some dummy value. So this can be a string 001 and the employee name. So let's give this a name. Okay, Sachin. So this works fine. Whatever we are passing from here, that will come here in an encapsulation, it will work fine. Now the problem comes in case if we don't know what is the signature or what is the shape of this employee object, and by mistake if we, instead of passing employee code and employee name, what if we pass here code and name, because we don't have any type check here. So this will compile properly, but later when it executes in the runtime you'll get error because the logic is expecting this employee to have employee code and name and not code and name. So it will definitely break. So to fix that, we can do one thing, that is explicitly providing the shape of this object inline. So instead of doing it like this, we can write like in emp underscore code. Okay, so employee underscore code, and one more is emp underscore name. Great. So now as you can see here, when we are passing this code thing, it is saying that this code and name is not assignable to parameter of type employee code and employee name. So now we have fixed it like this. Okay, so you need to fix this. From here we can see your code has to be emp underscore code and emp underscore name, otherwise okay, so otherwise it will not work. But this approach is little verbose. And also if you have something like get salary or other methods which is expecting this kind of employee as an input, so you need to write it everywhere. So basically you need to do code duplication. Now that is not acceptable. So to fix that, what we can do, we can move all these things into something called an interface. Okay, now interface is really common in different programming languages like Java and C#. So in case if you don't know what interface is, okay, let me create the interface first. So I'll give the name as employee. Okay, this is how an employee interface looks, and here we're going to describe the signature of an employee. So as per our example, it should have this two parameters like emp code and emp name. Okay, so emp code and emp name, and here instead of writing this entire thing, it can be replaced with an employee. So now also you can see there is no error or warning and the code will execute properly. Fine. So this case it is working fine, but there is one more problem here. There is a concept called cohesion in object-oriented programming. So what cohesion tells us is all the related properties should be encapsulated together. What that means is, here you have this employee code, employee name here, but this function is like polluting the global space and it is not together, so they are separated. That should not happen. Rather, since they all belong to the same concept called employee, we need to put them together in one bundle. Now with this current interface, we cannot move this function inside this interface, because interfaces are there to describe the structure or shape of an object or type, but it cannot have the implementation. So what we can do, we can write this here, print salary. Okay, print salary empty process, and as of now, since it is not returning anything, so we can write this void. So what it will do, we are just giving the description of this method and not the implementation. Interfaces are not there for implementation. So what to do for that? Class is kind of a blueprint which describes the behavior of a data and the structure of a data. Print salary has become the method of this class called employee, which has two fields. One is employee code, another is employee name. So as you can see, this implementation looks really clean. So I'll as of now add a console to this. Okay, so now we cannot use these variables like this. We need to prefix them with this, since these are a part of this class. Using this keyword you can access all these fields. Fine. And you cannot call this method anymore like this. Instead, instantiate this class with the new keyword like this. So now we have created a memory location for this class, and this is a variable which holds that memory location. Now using this variable, we'll be able to call the methods and fields available, publicly available in this class. So as of now, we can easily write this like this. So it should work, but before that we need to pass the employee name and employee code here. So one way to do that is explicitly assigning the employee code here like this. Same way you can assign the employee name also from here like this. Sachin. Fine. So let's see whether it works or not. Okay, I think our program is working properly. So instead of calling this fields like this, we can add something like this called constructor. Let me show you. Okay, this is called a constructor. Now inside this constructor you can have variables. Okay, emp underscore code string and emp underscore name string inside this things. And now since we are using like this, so you can set them in this way using the variable. Okay, this dot emp name equal to emp name. Now we need to pass the employee code and name. Whatever variable we were explicitly assigning to them, we can provide them inside this arguments. So this is where we are basically instantiating the class and thereby calling the constructor. So let's pass the same employee code here, whatever we were using in the example. Okay, one is 001 and the second one is Sachin, right? Okay, let's try the same example. Fine, so it resulted in same output. Now since we are using this constructor, we no more have to use this thing. We can make them private from here, and that is the actual way to deal with this fields. Okay, let it be public. Now whatever variable we are passing over here, that will be set to employee code and employee name, and we can easily able to view the variables in the print cell. Now there is some small problem. So what happens if during the program, if we want to change the value of employee name or employee code, how to access them? Since we made them private, now there is no way available to access them throughout the course of the program. Okay, so now we need some way to change them and get their current value. So to do that, we can write methods. Okay, we can write get emp code or employee object dot set emp code, and let's pass this value called 002. Let's call the same method here. Let's see if it's able to change this guy or not. So as you can see in the first call, we have 001 as employee code, but in the second instance you have 002 as an employee code. Now we have certain properties already available to achieve it, and we don't have to create these custom methods. So to get this employee code, you can easily write it like this. Get employee code, and same way you can have something like set employee code. Now since these are both available here with the same name, is complaining because employee code is duplicated here. So what to do, as a convention we can prepend this one with the underscore. We have this get employee code and set employee code. Now we can implement the same thing, but we don't have to call it like this. Instead we can use this employee code as it is, like a variable. To be underscore, since we are basically accessing the private variables, and these are just getter and setter. Now also we have some more issue. Access are only available when targeting must hit 5 and higher. Okay, so we can ignore this one. This is specific to the version of this, but we can see that it is working for us. I hope I have cleared what is access modifiers. Access modifiers are able to change the scope of these fields, class level fields. So using this private, you're restricting the scope within the class. Okay, in case if it was public, then it was available in the global space, and from anywhere, from any class, it was able to access these variables. And in case if it was protected, then only the classes which are subclass of this employee class will be able to access this.
Now let's see how to run a TypeScript file in the browser. So for that, first of all we need to create a package.json. Open the command prompt and run npm init-y. This -y will simply generate a package.json without going through the interactive process. Light server is a very lightweight web server to serve the application. Now we will add it as a dev dependency. Alright, now we are going to add the light server command as a package.json script. Going forward, now creating an index.html. Basic intention is to import the scripts here. Let me add the app.js file as a script here. Now we need to find a way to execute this as a project and not just as a single file. So for that, we need to create a configuration file for our TS compiler. Let's run the command tsc-init. It basically creates a boilerplate TS config file for us. By default, most of the probable properties are made available here. Now with the help of this file, if you run tsc without any other argument, TypeScript compiler will compile all the TS files in the project, as you can see here, right? But still, this command is to be executed after each and every code change, which is really redundant. To overcome this, we can trigger TS compiler in watch mode. It continuously checks the TS files for any modification. Okay, since CommonJS is not present, I think module should be ES6 and not CommonJS here. Fine, now the problem is resolved as expected. Here onwards, if we come to the app.js and modify, suppose the employee code here, to 005, the compiler will automatically detect the code change as it is in watch mode, and then it returns a fresh new app.js, which in turn is consumed by the light server to reload the application in the browser. Okay, going forward, decorators are primarily used to add metadata to a target. Now we'll create a very simple class level decorator for our employee class. So to do that, first let us create a decorator function called add metadata. This function accepts an argument called target. Okay. Now simply add a custom metadata to the target like this. Finally, return the target argument. To call this decorator, we need to use at before the function name like this. One thing to remember, class level decorators are formed during the creation of the classes and not during the instantiation. Now let us test this decorator using another function called getMetadata from target. As expected, the simple class level decorator is working perfectly here. Now, instead of using this hard-coded value, let me show you how to pass arguments to a class decorator. We can wrap a class decorator with another function to allow customization. The add metadata takes some arguments used as configuration and then returns an unnamed function which is the actual decorator. In the decorator, we can access the arguments because obviously there is a closure in place. Finally, we can invoke the decorator by passing some configuration value. Okay, perfect. So the last topic before we wind up the session is TypeScript modules. Any declaration such as a variable, function, class, type, interface, etc. can be exported by adding this export keyword. Let me create a controller page. To make employee class available here, we are importing it from the app.js. Of course, in index.html, controller will replace the app import statement. Why? Got it. Controller should be loaded as a module, of course.